On. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creating a Bright Future. My name's Adam, and I'm a director with Nutrimetics, and I'm so excited to bring each month to you the best in the business to share their stories, share their learnings, their lessons, and I'm so excited to welcome Natalie Grzic as our best speaker tonight. So yay, Nat, so excited to have you here. I think Nat and I have known each other since we were kids.
Yes.
So, having both our parents in the business for many years, I've had the opportunity to travel overseas with Nat countless times, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight, Nat, on our Creating a Bright Future Zoom. So I would love to pass over to you to take it away. Thanks, Nat.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. And hello, everyone. It's exciting to be here, having watched the series, to get to jump on and share a little bit about my story and my systems for success. So I guess I'm going to start, first of all, with a little bit about me for people that don't know me. As Adam just said, I am a Nutri-baby, which means pretty much I've never had anything on me that wasn't Nutrimetics. My parents have actually been in Nutrimetics since before I was born. In fact, I always say that I owe my life to Nutrimetics and my mum's love of cheesecake, because the only reason she went to that Nutrimetics party was she had no money, but she was going to eat the cheesecake the lady had bought or made. I think she actually made the cheesecake. Oh, thanks, Annette. Thank you. I think she made the cheesecake. Mum's like, I'm just going for cheesecake. But of course, what happened was she went to the party. The person was terrible. And Mum was just looking at her thinking, if this person can make money doing Nutrimetics, I could do it too. And so that's how she got started. And I was one of the kids they couldn't afford to have before they started with Nutrimetics. So that's how I owe my life to Nutrimetics and cheesecakes. So a good story, I think. And I think it's, it's pretty good at this moment to remember that kind of a story, because, I mean, this was, I think, about 75 that they joined Nutrimetics, and they were in mortgage stress and they wanted to have more kids they couldn't afford. And Nutrimetics was not just the vehicle for kids, but it was for an amazing, incredible life that they had. Hey, Louise. They have officially just retired from Nutrimetics, but still massive advocates for our incredible business. And it's their story, I guess, that really inspired me to start with Nutrimetics 22 years ago. This is my 22nd year with Nutrimetics. I grew up saying I'm never going to do Nutrimetics. I went to university. I did a finance degree, and I went traveling overseas. I went traveling for 9 months to South America. I went by myself. I don't know how I had the courage to do that. Thinking back now, I don't know that I would have done it now, but I did it then. And by the time I got back, I had to get a job because, of course, I had no money. And I worked as an accountant for less than 3 months. The recruiters didn't even get the bonus for me, because it was lucky the job wasn't great, because that is what made me think, you know what? My parents have a good life. They don't work hard. They make great money. They get these incredible trips. They've got fabulous cars. I may as well just do Nutrimetics. That was kind of my mentality. And I was like, because I was about 22 at the time. So I was like, if I'm going to do Nutrimetics, I'm just going to get it all, because I'm not going to do it, halfway. So that was what I did. I actually quit my job, hadn't been there long enough. And I said, I'm going to give it 6 months of commitment and see, and I can reassess after that. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. And within 6 months, I had earned my first trip overseas, which was to Phuket. And I had earned a company car, and I hadn't lived at home since I was about 19, I think. But once I'd come back from overseas, I was briefly at home. And then I was living out of home, had my car, had my trip. Things were going really well. And I just thought, you know what? I like this. I'm going to keep going. And within 2 years, I'd achieved sales director and was earning an amazing income, traveling, doing all kinds of great things that I'm going to share a little bit more about in a moment. But, I wasn't someone who ever thought, like, I wasn't into makeup. I never wore makeup. In fact, I think for about the first couple of years of Nutrimetics, I don't think I even put mascara on. I had decent lashes. I thought that's good enough. I did start to put eyeliner, and after a few years I started to put brow pencil, and now look at me, I do the whole hog. So I guess I'm just saying that because I thought the idea of me teaching anyone about makeup or beauty was pretty laughable, and I was a pretty typical accountant person. I wouldn't call myself overly bubbly or anything like that, but the beautiful thing about Nutrimetics is it's brought it all out of me, which is great. And I've got 3 brothers, so I grew up in a very male dominated household, and so yes, even though my mum did Nutrimetics, I think I probably wouldn't have used much makeup otherwise. So anyway, why do I love Nutrimetics? Why did I choose it, and why do I still choose it? Because obviously when we've stayed in the business for 22 years, we keep making that decision. This is where we want to be. So first of all, it is being your own boss, working your own hours, choosing your holidays. Like that was a big thing for me when I started, because I was in a job where pretty much I literally had to hang around at month end, even though the thing I had to do was going to take 5 minutes. I had to wait for everybody else just so I could do that 5-minute job and work back and get nothing extra for it. And I just thought, why would I be giving this my all when I can be giving a business my all, what I'm creating for me? And the idea that I could never get promoted unless all the people ahead of me got promoted, or unless I went on to study more accounting, which did not appeal to me at that point and does not appeal to me now. You know, they were all things that made me really excited about the idea of being my own boss, working my own hours, choosing my holidays. And now I've got a beautiful little girl. She's 18 months old, and now I get to choose to be with her. And I am doing Nutrimetics. I'm not as active as I was when I didn't have her, but you know, I see so many of my friends from Mother's Group, and they're all back at work, and kids are sick every week because their kids are in daycare and all those things that I have the luxury to be able to avoid right now because of what Nutrimetics offers. And last night at our event, it was wonderful because one of my girls wanted to bring her daughter who just had a 5-month-old, and she said, can I bring her? I said, you know what, I don't think we've had a Nutrimetics event where there's not a baby in the back, and we love the babies, and that's part of our business, and that's what I love too. So first of all, it was just that incredible flexibility and the idea that the effort that I put in was going to come back to me. And you know, because in the corporate world, you don't even get credit for the things that you do. The person above you does. But anyway, that's another story. The other thing I was really excited about was traveling, because at the time, the travel that I'd done that wasn't with my parents was all backpacking. And so, you know, to go to Phuket, 5-star, it was just like incredible, and not have to pay for anything. So I definitely was excited about the trips, but also the fact that I could work my own hours and travel myself, because I didn't have any attachments back then. And so I did heaps and heaps of traveling, and I always planned my diary so that, you know, so that I could bring in my month. Like, for example, I might have traveled, like say I was leaving in April, I might have left in the last week of April and come back in the 3rd week of May so that I could still bring in my results. So just basic planning let me do a lot of travel. The other thing I love about Nutrimetics is the variety. You don't have Groundhog Day, which so many people have. I like the challenges, the new people, being pushed outside your comfort zone, even things you used to be comfortable with, getting re-pushed out of it when you haven't done it for a while. Like tonight, I was saying to my husband, got to get myself in the zone because I haven't done this in a while. So, I mean, I've done Zooms for my team, but not on such a scale. So I like that. I think that being outside your comfort zone, having variety, it keeps you energized and stops minimizes the chance of getting in a rut and all that stuff. So I love that about Nutrimetics. I love the amazing car program, and I'm very lucky. I've got a BMW X4, which is just the best car. I just absolutely love it. I feel so grateful for it. And I've had so many cars over the years anyway. I wouldn't even know how many in 22 years. But it's a beautiful thing to never have to pay car, rego, insurance, and get new cars every 3 years. So I love that. It's a big saving for the household. The other thing is that you can build residual income. So, you know, as a single young person, I was able to buy property in Sydney by myself just based on the earnings that I made from Nutrimetics. So that was pretty awesome, considering I have friends that have worked the same time that I have that weren't able to do that. And so it's not just about earning the income, it's also about setting the goal and making it happen. And I think those kind of skills you learn from Nutrimetics as well. So great residual income, which gives you the time to take off. Like when I was pregnant with a youngster, I've had periods where I haven't been well, all those things where I've been able to still keep my Nutrimetics going and earn a great income. And I will also say, you know, there's great tax benefits of being self-employed versus the tax you pay when you're on a higher income level. It's just a significantly different. So that's another benefit of being in business and being in Nutrimetics. What else can I say? What's on my list? I love the energy of Nutrimetics, the camaraderie, the way people care about each other, even if they're in different teams. They give their learning, their time. And I know all of you guys will have already witnessed that, because if you watch this program, this is all about people from other teams coming together and sharing. And I love that. And you know, when I first started, I was 22. I was a bit cynical because I've been at uni and they teach you to be cynical there. But I kind of thought, God, these people are just so positive. I was a bit kind of out of my element, I guess. But, you know, as I've got older, it's just one of the things I've appreciated the most. Like when we had our conference and I was on the dance floor after awards night, and I'm looking at women of all ages and nationalities, and I loved that. I just looked around. I was like, yeah, this is where I really felt like this is where I belong, because we hadn't done an event like that in so long, and it was just that feeling and the camaraderie that you have and just the vibe. You know, you don't get that in most jobs. And to be honest, many of my friends who've been working the same length of time as me, over 20 years, I've seen some of them change jobs countless times, not because they didn't like their jobs, but their boss changed, their restructure, and then they would be feeling ill about the thought of going to work. And they've had basically been forced out of jobs they otherwise liked just because of other things and other people. And, you know, one thing you can say with Nutrimetics, you've got amazing people all around you. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate it more and more, you know, as I have more life experience. So that's another point. And the other thing is, you know, the opportunity for personal development to, you know, enhance your self-awareness, those kind of life skills. I really feel the skills that I've learned through Nutrimetics, being resilience, you know, the ability to be positive and look on the bright side and not dwell on things that don't go my way, focus on what I like, what I'm happy about, what I'm grateful. All those things, all those skills have not just helped me in Nutrimetics, but in my life as I've gone about things and had challenges. I've always had those tools, and I know so many of my fellow leaders would totally say the same thing. You learn to ride the roller coaster of life, and you know, Nutrimetics is as well a roller coaster. You know, I always say that to my people as they're, you know, as they're setting their goals and moving up the ladder. You have good things happen, you have bad things happen. You know, the key with the roller coaster is not to ride it like this, it's to ride it like this, you know, and just accept some days will be better, some days will be worse. So it's, and you know, you can have one day where something good happens, something bad happens, something good happens, something bad happens. So, you know, trust the cycle, it balances out. So you do learn to ride that roller coaster of life with those great skills that you learn. So the other thing is, it's just a real delight to help other people learn those skills and have those experiences and go on trips that they would never have conceived of going, and have experiences that they would never have thought they could have. I mean, many of the ladies I've helped to earn trips overseas haven't been overseas before, or have never had a new car, or you know, have never had any kind of recognition or appreciation. So it's really nice to be part of that part of their life. And I even had one lady tell me that she asked a guy out because of the extra confidence she got from Nutrimetics. She said, I would never have done that. So yes, there's that's a really good part of the business as well. So I'm just going to take a bit of time now to share a little bit about my systems and protocols of what I've worked with over the last 20 years, what has served me really well. I did notice a question come up, so I'm just going to open it and just make sure I can keep an eye if anyone wants to shoot me a question. Someone's asking me how many people I have in my team, and the honest truth is I wouldn't even know. I think I've got at least 350, 400 people in my ESMship, but I have many managers in my team as well. So it would be a lot. So I don't actually know. Oh, and the other thing is I've got an incredible team of managers, and I've also had the thrill of earning many awards, incredible jewelry. I've got so much jewelry from Nutrimetics that I don't know what to do with it all. And my $1 million pin, which I popped on tonight for you guys. So, you know, that's another nice perk of the business, is all the great little extras you get. Anyway, let's talk about my systems and protocols. So the first thing I guess I want to say is just how important it is to have a clear goal each month, each week, each day of what you want to achieve. Call it a goal, call it an intention, it doesn't matter. But I know, you know, building an SD-ship in 2 years is something that requires a lot of focus. And the thing I used to do every day to start with was just to say, you know, what am I doing today to grow my business? And I had it on my fridge. What am I doing today to grow my business? What am I doing today to meet the people? Because we know that it's through meeting the people that we can build the team. You know, you can't meet the people sitting at home or thinking about Nutrimetics. You have to be doing it. You have to be talking to people. And people laugh at me, but I've sponsored the woman who cleaned my room at the Versace Hotel when we were up in Queensland years ago for an SD thing. I was chatting to her and I got her to join. I sponsored the woman sitting next to me on the plane up there just by chatting to her. I've booked a party with a girl in the bank queue. We were in this endless queue, and I got there, and guess what? The Nutrimetics car in the driveway next door. She lived next to a Nutrimetics manager, and she booked a party with me because I talked to her in the bank queue. So I learned that from my mum. I'll definitely give her credit, because everywhere I used to go when I was growing up, she'd be always like, you look great, you're wonderful, thank you so much, I'd love to offer you a facial. And I would always be like, oh mum, can you just stop? But of course, you know, by doing that, she would give away beautiful compliments, which always make people feel good. And some would take her up on the offer and some wouldn't, but you know, it's something that I learned to do. And that's what you do when you've got a clear goal and you're hungry. You go out and you do the things that are outside your comfort zone. And I remember when I first started, someone said to me, you know, when you step outside your comfort zone, miracles happen. So the more time you're outside your comfort zone, the quicker you will reach your goal. I think that's a sure statement. And also following your heart, as well, you know, doing the things you want to do, because I met some of my managers, including the beautiful Danielle Daly. I met her through following my own passion and interests outside of Nutrimetics. I felt like I wanted to do a course, and through doing that course, that's how I met Danielle. So by trying to, and actually I met another one of my managers through doing another course. So trying to, you know, do things that appealed to me and were going to help me grow as a person, often put me in the path of other great people. So anyway, with regards to work, as you probably gathered by now, I'm a pretty kind of logical person. I like to work smarter, not harder. So I've always put the time to, you know, followed the 80-20 rule, put the energy into the activities that are going to make me the majority of my income. And made that my focus. And that's why I always had that sign on my fridge saying, how am I going to meet the people? What am I going to do today? And I still teach it to this day to my team, to ask themselves at the end of each day, you know, what did you do? What are you happy with? What are you going to do tomorrow? Because I think we need to have that clear focus for the day. Otherwise, it's very easy to sit on the couch and watch Netflix and, you know, your life's just passed you by. So that idea of setting that goal every day, obviously bigger goals, months, years, but also that daily focus. And I always say to my team, like, if you do 3 things a day towards Nutrimetics, significant things, I'm not talking about, you know, sending one text, but if you do daily actions, you'll start to see growth. And one of the big systems or tools that I've used was something my mum developed. It's just called our evaluation form. And it's just basically a coaching tool that she used for her managers because she was not always in Australia. And basically it allowed people to write down their key activities. It's just a set of columns. The first column is, you know, what did you do today towards bookings? And the next column is, what did you do today towards sponsoring? What did you do today towards development? What other Nutrimetics activities did you do? What are you happy with? And what would you do differently? And this is a really great tool that I've used pretty much since day dot. Usually I encourage my team to share it with me, but even if you never shared it with a soul, if you sat down and did that every day, you would really get a picture of where your business is. And the thing about things like the sponsoring column or the development column is you can very clearly see where you're putting your time. I used to be like, what am I going to put in my sponsoring column today? What am I going to put in my development column today? Or bookings for that matter, because, you know, if you're looking at those key activities and you're not taking daily actions towards them, you're not going to get the results that you want. So by using that tool, I think that was a big part in me elevating so quickly to sales director. And the next column was what am I happy with? So reminding myself and also my team to praise themselves, to notice what they did well. So for example, maybe in the booking column you wrote, I had a booking, I had 900 in sales, but I only had, you know, 1 booking. So you might say, what am I happy with? I'm happy that the people love the products, that they ordered the products, you know, that I earned great income. What would I, and the next column is, what would I do differently? And you might say, well, next time I'm going to have a clear strategy for booking, so that I can get the bookings, because it's not obviously just about sales. So another time it might be you only have 3 people come along, and you might say, I'm happy, we had a great experience, I got good results. What would I do differently next time? I would do better hostess coaching so that I would get more people in the door, because we know when the people are there, it makes it easier to get the results. So that evaluation form, I find it as quite an analytical person really helpful. It's not for everyone. Some of my people who are not analytical don't like it, but in which case I just encourage them at the end of the day to say, what did I do? What am I happy with? What will I change next time? Because it's really a lot more empowering to ask, well, what will I change next time? As opposed to, you know, it is what it is or whatever. So asking yourself, what will I do differently? What will I change? It's an empowering way to look at evolving your skills. So that's the first thing, the learning to self-evaluate and teaching my team to do the same. My mum didn't really have an upline, and so she had to learn to evaluate herself. And I think that was a strength because she learned to do things. Oh, you can hear my little daughter running around outside. Anyway, so the other thing I want to say is I would always set non-negotiable goals. So they were goals that, and I say would in the past tense because some of these things now I'm just conditioned to, but in the beginning, you know, the idea that I would always sponsor at least 5 people, and that was when, you know, it was like, I don't know, $200 to join or whatever. Like, to me, that had to be non-negotiable. I had to make it my focus. Whereas now it's more of a habit. So how do you create habits? It's by doing something so consistently it becomes normal. So a non-negotiable goal I'd always set a non-negotiable sponsoring goal. And when I would do it, I used to go, and I love having massages. So I used to go and have a massage, and I wouldn't let myself go unless I'd done it. So I always used to say, you know, it's not over till the end of the month. And I remember I had this big goal years ago, and it was my birthday, because my birthday's in the last day of the month. And I didn't give up on that goal. Like, I knew that I could get it. And then someone calls me out of the blue, come over. I go over there, 3 people join. Someone places a $500 to activate, you know, like, it's just the power of setting that goal and just working as if it's going to happen. And I've often just taught my team to have a mantra that says, it's happening, you know, it's happening, to just cancel out any thoughts you might have otherwise. So I think the biggest thing is just being consistent, having non-negotiable goals that you agree with yourself you're going to achieve, and making sure they're consistent. I mean, that they're achievable, because you don't want to set unrealistic goals. When you set unrealistic goals, or goals that you are not willing to do the work for, it undermines your self-confidence when you don't achieve it. So setting a goal that is achievable for where you're at that moment, and then committing to yourself you're going to do it, that is a core part of achieving what you want. You can have great skills that you learn through all these trainings, but if you don't have those basic disciplines, it's just, they don't get put into practice. So the next thing is just talking about how my communication strategies and systems. And the first thing is, no matter what, I always have 2 nights on the phone a week. I always sort of do 7:30, 8 to 8:30, because generally I find that's a good time to catch people. And the good thing is, it's just 1 hour, but I have to do it before I get to sit down and do something else. So if you do that and you make a commitment to actually call people, not just message, you will really see results. And if you're calling people, talking to them, and not getting results, then you need to look at your scripting and what you're saying. But I feel like that's a massive discipline, to just make sure you sit down and do. When I say, I mean, obviously I call it other points of the day, but that's just my, you know, touch base with sponsors. I usually have like 1 night a week focused on bookings, and then the other one might be about sponsoring and connecting with people about, you know, the sponsoring process I'm going to talk to you about. So that's one of the things. The other thing I always learned was, you know, you with your bookings, you have to work for your yeses, you know, because once you've got the date in your diary, you're like 80% of the way there to having the income from it. So I've always said, you know, each yes you get is $200 on average in your pocket. So you want to work for your yeses. You want to learn how to ask for bookings, how to overcome objections. Because and over the years, I've had so many people who've got on the phone and not got results. And then I've said, well, did you follow the scripts? Oh, no, I didn't follow the scripts. And then they get out the scripts, and sure enough, they get the results. So, you know, look at every yes as at least $200 in your pocket. And that's based on pretty average result. And, you know, I always ask, you know, if I gave you, in fact, I'm going to ask all of you guys, if I gave you an extra $1,000 right now for you, if you book 8 bookings in, who would go and do it? Who would do it? No one? Yes, Louise would. Good. So, I mean, of course, the reality is, if you actually do that, get on and book 8 bookings, let's say you hold 6, then that's enough to sell at least $3,000 in a month. You'll make $1,200. So, you know, we just have to remember that. Like, I know when I'm at a party, I'm like, I've got to get my bookings, because that's, well, it's more than $200 once you're skilled, but keeping it really simple. Who wouldn't want to know they get $200 for every booking in their diary? So you've got to look at it in that way. I highlight the spots in my diary I want to book, and then it's like I zone in and make sure that I book those exact spots. So, for example, if I can see next Saturday's free, I'm going to, you know, I'm making my goal to fill that spot in my diary. So the other thing I always say to people, you know, in my team is if you walk out the door 3 times a week, every week, and put product on people, you're going to make good money in Nutrimetics. But I believe, I mean, obviously with COVID, it was different, but now people are definitely interested in being back in front of people. And that's that. If you just walk out the door, you take your products, you put products on people, you'll make money in the business as long as you do it 2-3 times a week minimum. So I just thought I'll just throw that out there because I always say that to my team. And also doing regular lead generation. So that you have new people, because of course the business is cyclical. I was taught it's kind of like a wave. Every person you sponsor comes in up the wave, and then eventually that wave will dissolve. And so you need new people coming through so that when that wave dissolves, you've got another peaking. And that's the way I was taught to look at group leaders. You know, we know that not every single person who becomes a group leader is going to be a manager. And if we understand those numbers, then we can plan ahead for it by always having new bookings, new sponsors, new people to work with, so that if people don't progress, like not everybody obviously dissolves in the wave, but I think you get my gist. But if we have those new waves always coming, then that's part of the business. And when I understood that was part of the business, the wave was part of the business, I accepted it. You know, at first I was like, oh my gosh, this person stopped. But you know, people stop, and some people come back, and some people you never hear from again, and that's okay. It's part of the business. And so understanding that, and that it is a numbers game, makes a massive difference. So anyway, that's a little bit about my mentality and my thought process around bookings, and making sure that I work for my yeses, whether I'm at a party or on the phone. And please, if you are not getting the results on the phone, you need to talk to your upline and particularly look at the scripting, like how do you handle hesitations? I mentioned before about a booking strategy at my parties. And so, you know, what are the things that you say and do that will make getting a booking as likely as possible? So, you know, that's what I train out. The 4 times principle, you know, that the more you mention something, the more people consider it, think about it, visualize it for themselves, and the more likely they are to say yes. I mean, I don't even do it the 4 times principle. I do it like the 20 times principle. I'm sure you've all been taught to say a lot about bookings at your treatments so that people do think about it. So when you ask them at the end, what did you think of having a few girlfriends around? It'd be great to do, you know, a hot towel therapy. And they'll say, oh yeah, I was thinking about that. And of course they were thinking about it because you were talking about it. So that's definitely something that in terms of my booking strategies is making sure you have one. If you don't have a booking strategy, you leave it to chance. And as Mary Richards says, if you rely on Nutrimetics to put food on your table, you can book. So you've just got to make sure you've got the proper skills and steps. So it's a bit about booking. I did want to share a little bit about my process for sponsoring. And then I'm going to share a little bit about my process for actually retaining people, because that's a huge part of growing a long-term successful business, is how we retain our people, obviously, and a little bit about how I work with my people once they clearly want to move forward. So in terms of sponsoring, I've always been a pretty consistent sponsor. I've never been the highest sponsor, but, you know, it's funny because I think for many years what you would say about me is that I was consistent. And I remember years ago, I was on stage for an award with Mary Richards. Many of you will know Mary. We were standing up there talking to myself, God, we didn't even think we did that much. But, you know, the power of consistency. And, you know, you don't have to be the biggest sponsor or the person who sells the most or does the most parties. You need to be consistent and work with the people you bring in to we talk about putting them through the sponsoring funnel. So basically it's like a funnel like this. I've always taught, if you have 10 people that you sponsor, we know of these 10 people, 3 of them you'll never hear from again, at least 3, maybe more, 4. And then say you've got 5 or 6 that progress to the next stage of the funnel, then you might get some that order sporadically, and you might get 2 or 3 that are really great and order often. And then from those 2 or 3, you will then get one wonderful person. So that's the way I've always trained out sponsoring. I mean, there's more to it, but as when I understood that it was a numbers game, first of all, it's a numbers game, but you also have to have a clear process for sponsoring. And I'm going to talk a bit about that now, because if you bring, you can bring in 100 people, but if you don't have the touch points and take them through the process, then they're all going to fall through. No one's going to make it through the group leader funnel, so to speak. So for me, we can't control what people will do, but we can tick something off our list and say honestly to ourselves, actually, I did follow the sponsoring protocols with this person. And if it didn't work out, that's fine. But when you can't say that you followed the protocols, then you can no longer guarantee the result, because we're talking about numbers. If that makes sense, you just need to be able to say, I followed that step with each person that I bring in the best that I can. And I'm like everybody, I get heaps of people who ghost me and never talk to me, or I get people who clearly read my messages and act on them but don't respond to me, and I get people that are appreciative and grateful and love being part of the business and love being in my team. I get all the same people that you guys get. So I've always followed with sponsoring Sonia Gordon's protocols because she trained me. I was very fortunate to train with Sonia right from the start when I started. So I learned amazing fundamentals. And she, of course, has spoken in this event about her 4-5-3 principle, selling the 4,000, sponsoring the minimum of 5, and working with at least 3 towards getting their rewards. So, I mean, these days, because of course it's free to join, I certainly aim for more than 5, but the principle of working with at least a minimum of 3 people to progress them through all of the rewards. I did that from day dot, and I taught my team to do that. And by the time I became a sales director, I had already elevated at least, I think, 4 to 5 managers, and not all of them stuck around. That's part of the business as well, but the process really works. So I'm not going to talk about that because you've heard that from Sonia, and but I will talk about the basic steps of the touch points that you have with someone when you sponsor them. So obviously giving them an action pack, giving them brochures when you meet them, especially now because they don't get posted brochures. That's a really powerful step. And the words that you use when you do that. So you might say, Adam, you're going to receive an email with a login, and you're going to get some incredible benefits with your Nutrimetics account. And I'd love to give you these brochures. First, you can have a bit more of a look at them yourselves, but I really encourage you, take the books to work, because a lot of people already know and like Nutrimetics, and you'd be surprised how many people want to look at the book. So I had one woman once, and she was English. She'd never heard of Nutrimetics. She wasn't long in Australia, and because I told her to take the book to work, she took books to work. There was a feeding frenzy. Everybody knew the products, and she rang me. She goes, I've got like $800 in orders. What do I do? And so, the power of suggestion. So making sure you suggest, hey, you'll be surprised. People know Nutrimetics, take it to work. So that's the action pack. And then what I like to do now, especially if I'm in front of them, is schedule a kit delivery, or the best kind of thing we can do. We always used to do a kit delivery face-to-face. Obviously, there's no kit for a lot of people anymore. So, and people join from all over. So often what I'll do when I'm first helping people join is I'll say, Adam, I'd love to have a chat with you just to run you through some of the benefits of your Nutrimetics account. Tell me generally, like, when's a good time to catch you? And I'll often ask them, tell me, do you prefer emails or Facebook Messenger or SMS, like just to get an idea how I can communicate with them, because I find some people really like some people love WhatsApp, and WhatsApp's great because you can attach images and videos and all sorts of stuff. So if they like WhatsApp, I do that. And often the people like WhatsApp don't like Facebook. So I find by just finding out what people like, I've got like a WhatsApp broadcast. So some of my consultants are in that because they never ever look at their email and they never look at Facebook. But I do YouTube clips that kind of tell them about offers and brochures and products, and I just message them to people, and that works well. So as an example, anyway, asking people how it's best to contact them is really helpful, and letting them know that you would like to schedule a chat or touch base with them, or, you know, if they're not too far from you, say, look, I'd love to bring you your products. And at the same time, can I give you a quick facial? Can I do a makeover for you? And do you want to have your mum or your sister there or whatever? So trying to bring that in at the point of meeting, because I do find, you know, if you introduce that idea, people are more likely to respond when you call them about those things. Because the thing about joining now, of course, it's like, you know, I bought something at Cotton On once, and they're like, do you want to join our members? Yeah, okay, whatever. And so you get an email from Cotton On, but really I don't buy stuff from Cotton On. In my mind, it's just something I did. So for people, joining Nutrimetics is just something they did, unless we make it something more. And obviously it's not going to be something more for everyone, but you know, that's why trying to have that conversation, the kit delivery with people is so important. And I've always actually stuck with Lee Ahrens a long time, did a training about the kit delivery, and some of you remember, you know, the share about Nutrimetics and find out about them and see how they might fit together. And I really like that as my kind of goal of my kit deliveries, you know, find out about them, share about Nutrimetics, and see how they could potentially work together. And so even when you do that phone call or that kit delivery, it's great to have a goal in mind of what you want to achieve from that conversation. So usually for me, the goal is to find out about them and share about Nutrimetics and see how it might work. But also just to get them thinking a little bit bigger about Nutrimetics, like, because most people when they join aren't thinking anything about it. They're just thinking it was free and I get a discount if I ever want to order something. But my goal from the kit delivery is, well, share all the amazing benefits with them, motivate them to at least share a link or share a brochure and see, you know, put it out there to their friends and family, help them to earn their first rewards. So the steps of sponsoring for me is the action pack, scheduling the kit delivery, doing the kit delivery in whatever capacity you can. I always send a welcome email, just highlighting the benefits, and I'm sure your managers would do that if you don't do that yourself. And I always send a welcome text, which is just, hey, great to meet you. Here's a little video I did, just explains about your account perks. Here's my number if I can help you. So those are some things I always do. I always invite them to either host something or invite them to an event. And I usually say, let me give you a free double pass to whatever event that I'm doing, to try to encourage them to bring somebody along, especially if they haven't booked something. I always send them a new brochure. So say they joined in March, I'll be sending them the new brochure once I get it, with a letter just reminding them about the gifts they can get when they order before the end of April. So these are just some of the things that I do. And I think probably some of your uplines might also do that for people that you sponsor. I like to give them a sample of the wild melon oil and the microdermabrasion sample, because then they actually get to try the products that they get for free. And I think they're the main things. And just that whole, you know, why not show the brochure to a friend or two? You'd be surprised how many people know Nutrimetics. And the other thing that I like to do is once a month to do a face-to-face event, or I was doing them as Zooms, but where the focus was on welcoming them to Nutrimetics and taking them through about skincare and taking them through about makeup. So I'm getting back to doing them face-to-face. And for the online ones, doing a little bribe gift if they fill in a survey. Hey, watch this, fill in a survey, and I'm going to give you a gift. So I like doing that. Obviously we want to book our new sponsors where at all possible. That's how we can find the awesome people, because they get excited about the products and about the rewards. I always say it's so important not to prejudge people. I mean, I've had people when I met them literally say to me, I'm going to make you money. I was like, okay. So, and you never heard from them again. And then you've got other people who just joined because they love the products, who had have built amazing businesses. So it's really important not to prejudge and to follow that process I've just outlined with everybody that you join, because you can't pick the ones that are going to be great. And you really need to have at least 3 or 4 touch points with people over that sort of first full month and get them a little bit more engaged in the community of Nutrimetics. So I like to add them to my Facebook group or my WhatsApp broadcast, depending what they do, and invited them to things so that they feel like, you know, I care about them, and that's how you create that sense of community. So after having said all this about sponsoring, it's also good to know, you know, like, think about your own thoughts on sponsoring. Like, as I've said all this, what do you think? Do you think, oh, that sounds good for her, or that sounds easy, or yes, I'm doing that? Because I think the biggest thing about sponsoring is, you know, the attitude that you have to it. My belief is, if I follow my process, I'll find my gems. But so as a result, I feel powerful around sponsoring. But, you know, for example, it's the same about bookings. Like, what do you believe about bookings? Like, some people say, oh, no one wants to book. Well, that's not a great belief, you know. Whereas, you know, I say, you know, people love getting together, and people are exciting to be in each other's homes again. A great affirmation that I have taught my consultants for years is, you know, people say yes to me. People say yes to me. People say yes to me. Or, you know, I attract great customers, consultants, hostesses who value me and what I'm offering. And that's often one that I recommend to my newer consultants, because, you know, often they haven't yet built that belief around what they're offering. And so the more that you can reinforce in your head that you're offering something wonderful that people are interested in, the better. That's how you weather the people who say no, and you build that muscle of belief around sponsoring and booking. And you know, you've got to exercise your brain the way you exercise your body. Like, the more positive thoughts you give to sponsoring, the stronger that muscle becomes. So I think you've all heard the story of the black wolf and the white wolf, and them fighting it out on your shoulders, and the black wolf saying, no, I can't, and the white wolf saying, yes, I can. And, you know, this is what I get my consultants thinking about, you know, which in the battle in your head, which one wins, the black wolf or the white wolf? Has anyone got any thoughts on that? I know most of the managers would have heard this story, but these two wolves are fighting it out in your head, and the one that wins is the one you feed. It's the one you give attention to. It's the one who, the food that you give it is in the thoughts that you have. So fundamental to my moving forward myself and helping my team is teaching people these basic self-development principles. You know, I've got my hard disk rewirer, you know, where you wear the elastic band around your wrist, and you pull it every time you think a negative thought. And, you know, that's really powerful, because people don't even realize that they're not thinking supportive thoughts of themselves until they start to wear it, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize how many things I said that weren't supporting myself and what I wanted. And, you know, I used to have a big black wolf, but the more you feed the white wolf, the skinnier and scrawnier it becomes, so that you can just tell it to rack off when it pops up every now and then. So these are the kind of tools I was talking about before that are great, not just for Nutrimetics, but for life. So I'm prattling on. I haven't got much time left, so I'm just going to do a little bit more in terms of my strategy for retaining people. I invite them to events. I invite them into my Facebook. I do the WhatsApp, like I was talking about. I do YouTube clips about what's in the brochure, the pre-launch packs. So people get to know me. I find out the way people like to communicate so that I can, don't email them if they never look at email, and email them if they do, and all that kind of stuff. I like to do team promotions. So I give away some of the many gifts I get that I don't want. I'll do team draws. Anyone who places an order, usually I do it of 250 BV or more, or who sponsors, they go in the draw for one of the old bonus gifts or something. Sometimes I do morning teas. I want to make people feel special, that they're part of something, that they matter, even down to how you contact your inactives. Like, I think it makes people, of course, people who've never talked to and never placed an order, maybe not, but people who've been in my team that I know like the product. I mean, I follow up everyone, I should say that, but I mean, the people who've kept their account, they really appreciate me reminding them. And, sometimes if they don't order, I'll then send them a message the week after and say, hey, Louise, I noticed you didn't order, but just so you know, you can still ring the company and place an order. And it shows that you care about them and you care about having them in your team. And I do email brochures to customers. I post to some, but not many. I have a Facebook page. I have a WhatsApp group, a broadcast for my customers, for those that like WhatsApp. I try to remember things like the names of their kids, the names of their dogs, just, to show that you care, to add that personal touch. Regarding working with my team and the protocols around that, I've covered most of it. I do have a second group for sellers because some of the content that I teach is not appropriate for my regular group. I use the evaluation form that I already talked about. I have an action form for the action goal form for the beginning of the month to discuss what people want to achieve for the month and the steps they're going to take. I do a TLC program, which is like regular contact with the key people, where we agree to have regular contact each week to help them move forward. Like, I know I'm kind of running through it now, and some of it might be overwhelming for you, but I'm aware there's like some managers on here who would have heard all these things before, and some of you maybe are new, and some of these things might not seem relevant right now. But the point is, I have systems for each level of activity in the business. I help people, like I'll ring someone if they're close to the next commission level, all that kind of stuff. And I really have a culture of personal development in my group where I'm teaching them those kind of skills that will help them ride the Nutrimetics roller coaster and ride the roller coaster of life, so that they've got the skills for that. I think we just need to keep that in perspective. Sometimes people have a few disappointments in Nutrimetics and they want to give up. But, as they say, if you bought a business for $100,000, you wouldn't just give up after a few no's. And, you need to keep those no's in perspective, because, every job has its ups and downs. And something I was just going to say, and it's just slipped right out of my head. It might pop back. What was I just saying? It was a good one too. Anyway, that were the main things that I wanted to.
You talked about if you bought $100,000 business, you wouldn't just give up because you got a few no's.
Yes, and actually, it's funny because Mary Richards, before she became a manager, she was just plodding along as a GL, SGL, and she was doing well. But you know what? When they launched Canada as a seminar destination, she really, really wanted to go. And she said from that moment on, she didn't care about the people that said no to her. She was just focused on the people, getting people who say yes. And I think that's the power of the goal is if you've got your clear goal, you learn to just let go of the people that say no, because you're on your train. I mean, you've all heard the train analogy. You're on your train of where you're going. And if you keep on going and keep doing the steps, people are going to get on. I mean, that's how I built my business. It wasn't that I knew anything more than anyone else. I just believed that if I kept the consistent actions and kept my train going, people were going to jump on. And I met people in all unlikely ways, as I've just outlined. And it's from having that belief that if I just kept on doing what people said worked and was consistent and had my non-negotiable goals, that I could have all those things. And you know what? It's paid off. It's worked for me because I've had a wonderful life with Nutrimetics up to now, and I know it's going to continue. And that's from those disciplines. I've got, I did a party the other night for the lady that hosted. She was one of the first people I ever met when I started Nutrimetics. She was at a party I did for someone else. And her family have been having parties for me for 22 years, So, I mean, that's the power of relationships. Not all of them are like that, but, those ones that you have, you've got to especially treat like gold. But treat everyone like gold and you might get more of them too. So anyway, that was pretty much what I thought I would share. But the big thing, I guess, to leave you with is, to ask yourself each day, what am I doing today towards my goal, towards my business? And be honest with yourself, like be able to go, yep, I didn't do anything and that's why nothing's happening. Or, like I tidying my office is not, it has to happen at some point, but it's not that activity that's going to move you forward. So if anyone wants the evaluation form, probably Louise has it, but I can always send it. But it is really good at making yourself accountable and teaching you to praise yourself for the good things you're doing, but also to focus on what you're going to improve, because we are in the business of correcting and adjusting ourselves so we can learn and really perfect our art. And when we perfect our art, then it's like we're cooking with gas, things just line up for us. So that's where you want to get. So I think that's it for me. If anyone has any questions.
We're just still writing notes, so one moment, please.
Correct and adjust, correct and adjust, correct and adjust.
Yeah, so you can hear my approach is quite an analytical approach to the business, that to be expected by an accountant, of course. So, I'm that, apple lime. So I've tried to become a bit more mango over the years, but of course, I love that book, Bite Me book, and the idea of being a fruit salad. So I think many of you will know about this, but if you can be a fruit salad, you've got the best chance of moving forward. And so I am apple/lime. And so for people who are apple lime, they'll probably love what I said, and the mangoes and the bananas, maybe not, but it's an amazing business, and I love that it does help bring out the best in yourself and others, and it's really special in this day and age to have that.
It is, Natalie.
And there's an apple.
You are an amazing leader, my darling friend.
Thank you.
Amazing. The protocols and strategies that you've learnt are everything that I learnt in my early days and built my business on. And Adam's next to me saying, that's what you taught me.
Yeah.
Make the best. What are you doing today?
What are you doing today to be where I want to be? We had it on the fridge growing up, and Mum, I think, has asked me every day since I was born. So I love that. Like, such an important question to ask.
I did, and I used to have when you step outside your comfort zone of miracle habits, who knows who I heard it from? Maybe I heard it from you, Louise, but it was on my fridge, legit. And people would come over and go, what have you got on your fridge?
I think we were all before our time, Natalie, because so much of what you and Adam learnt growing up as children and teenagers has just gone into your subconscious brain. And an expectation that life will be great, an expectation that you will travel overseas, an expectation that you will be able to do some things for your children that your parents were able to do for you. Example, take them traveling or go to a beautiful restaurant. I was going to say go to fine dining restaurants, but Rick Buchner, my oldest son, he went to a beautiful restaurant, and Justin Hems owns the restaurant down at Narooma, and he asked his 15-year-old daughter and 14-year-old son if they'd like to come to the restaurant to celebrate their uncle's birthday. They said, no, thanks, we'd rather stay home. So it's like this full turnaround, whereas you and Rick and Adam would have said, yes, we're coming.
Well, it's funny because, my brother, who is quite the world warrior, we went to a fancy restaurant,
That would be Peter, would it?
Yes, we went to this restaurant, The Key, and he went there wearing a shirt that said, "Make poverty history," or the equivalent. And then at the end, he proceeded to say that the meal cost more than his car. So, but anyway, yes, but it's true. And I always say the biggest thing that I got from my parents, because they didn't so much teach me the day-to-day. I learned that through great leaders like yourself, Louise, and Sonia, and all the other leaders over the different states that I've been able to hear over the years. But the big thing that I got from them was the belief that it could work. I mean, people would say, "Oh yeah, I know someone who did that." Well, I knew multiple people who did that and did really well at it. So I didn't doubt that you could do it well, because I'd lived that life. Whereas for other people, they only knew the person who tried and didn't do well, you know.
That's
so
right, Natalie. That's right.
Yeah.
And you do find yourself a mentor. And it doesn't have to be the person that sponsored you. It can be someone else that you click with in Nutrimetics. And they are possibly your upline, or just as we build friendships and you have like a sister in the business that becomes very much your mentor as well. So
yes, and often when you mentor someone, you know, the beautiful thing is not only do you teach them, but they teach you and reinvigorate you. And that's the beauty of development, because it's the actual people that you're bringing through that that excite and motivate and inspire you. So it's really a synergy.
It so is. And one of the single most rewarding parts of this business, and by taking on Natalie's strategies of build your booking muscle, build your sponsoring muscle, build your development muscle, is that as you see someone else earning an overseas trip or a car, or walking up on stage and winning one of the consultants trophies at the Gold Coast, or for some of the girls in my team, driving to Sydney from the country areas in New South Wales and then flying to the Gold Coast. And it was the first time they had been to Sydney, and it was the first time they had been to Queensland. And these were girls who in their 40s with teenage kids or whatever. So don't take for granted the way that you can change someone's life and the difference that you can make by your examples. Every woman and man in this business is a role model, not just to their relatives and their family and friends, but to young people who they come across in their life.
Well, it's interesting because I'll just say this because some of you will remember Julia Jokic, but she was one of my managers. She was studying to be a teacher at the time, and she lived out Penrith Way. And at the time, you could not get a job if you were 20 in Penrith, because they were employing everyone who was 15, 16 and cheaper. And I'd actually met her when she was like 12 or 13. Then when I came across her again, she's like, "I'm going to do this." And she earned a company car while she was at uni. And then she went on to teaching and a teaching career, but she'd never been overseas. She didn't have a passport. She had a car, you know, so it's true. You do influence people from that young age.
You do. So I'd love us to summarize.
Yes, definitely. Look, I absolutely loved what you said at the start, you know, seeing your parents with the cars, the trips, the lifestyle, and that was definitely my experience as well, which I was so blessed to have growing up. And now moving forward, we have 2 trips a year that we're able to achieve. So chat to your upline manager more about that. But I am so excited to be able to travel the world and to be able to have those experiences. I have one of our new managers in our team, Amber, here tonight.
Come over and say a quick hello, Amber. Come on,
and Amber just became a manager on the 1st of April. So huge congratulations, Amber. Amber's doing some sponsoring in the background. And Amber was, what does Madrid mean to you, being able to achieve a trip to Madrid?
Well, I've never been overseas before. Just growing up on poverty, my parents lost one of their jobs due to an accident when I was a newborn. But my parents did everything they could to give me their best childhood. And when I heard that I could have the chance to go overseas, I was like, oh my goodness, how can I make this my reality? So I'm here.
So now we're going to Madrid.
And you just turned 19 last month.
Yes, I just
Yeah.
turned 19 in February.
In February. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're going to the leadership meeting next Thursday in Brisbane.
Yes, I'll be there.
And be recognised as an executive sales manager.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. Thank you,
Thanks,
Amber,
Emma.
darling. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
So to be able to share our incredible trips, the lifestyle, the flexibility, as you spoke about in the cars, is just something that really, I have pinch me moments all the time to be able to do that. So I love that you shared that, Nat. Creating a business that works around you, the flexibility with having kids, and that the effort that you put in comes back to you. What a cool thing to be able to be in a business and to be able to work for ourselves. The tax benefits, love the tax benefits. So that's fabulous as well. The sense of community, I mean, being in Bali and being able to be there with all of our colleagues from conferences, the previous year's seminars, it's like nothing that we've ever experienced outside of Nutrimetics. It's the most special thing. And to build that resilience and that positive attitude, it's amazing to have mentors in the business to remind us, you know, when things perhaps aren't going the way that we want them to, or we do have those hurdles and those challenges, to keep going on and to have those people there to support us.
What I love, Natalie, is building a sales director in 2 years. And I would like to throw that out to everyone who is watching tonight and everyone who watches the replay. And it doesn't matter whether you've been in Nutrimetics for 2 weeks or 20 years. Today is the start of a new day. And you, from today onwards, can be a sales director in 2 years. And I think big dreams have the power to stir us. And the person that started Nutrimetics is Mulfred J. Nobbs. And when I joined the business, and I see Deanna on and Mimi, and we used to go overseas, and Mulfred J. Nobbs was there every single time. And he would say his poem, that he hadn't written, obviously, but big dreams have the power to stir your imagination. Don't dream little dreams. And I think that that's something we teach a lot in Nutrimetics, to dream big. And particularly my gorgeous friend Deanna, she's always teaching people to dream big dreams. But I loved what you said, have a clear goal of what you want to achieve. Book, sponsor, and sell, and go out of your comfort zone. And the quicker you do that, the quicker you will reach your goal. You meet great people in your day-to-day work, but you've got to have the courage to step out of your comfort zone and offer them a free facial, or offer them a free, just offer them a brochure. And many of the people online might remember my gorgeous Sue Chappell. And I met Sue Chappell because her sister was in the shops, worked in a shop in Campbelltown where I live. And I bought something from Linda, and I asked Linda if I could give her a brochure. And she said yes. And she said, look, I love Nutrimoist and Honey and Almond Scrub. You can order me both of those. And then I went back and did the delivery and asked her for a workshop. And she tried to put me off. She said, oh, you won't come out to where I live. And it was right out in the country. I said, where do you live? She said, in Bargo. She said, have you ever heard of Bargo? I said, no, I haven't. She said, well, you won't be able to find it. I said, that's okay, I'll find it. Let's pop the date in. And I met her sister, Sue Chappell, who went on to build a $2 million a year business. So I can tell you my knees were shaking when I asked her if she could take a brochure. I'd only been in the business for 5 minutes when I did that.
And, you know, I didn't actually say it, but when I started, I literally had nobody to ask. That's why I had to ask strangers.
Cool.
Like, I had 3 brothers who were all single. I didn't even have a bloody sister-in-law or something. I had a mum who already did Nutrimetics, an old Croatian grandmother. All my friends had gone to Europe on a gap year. I just had nothing. And the only thing I had was a bunch of broke uni students.
Yes.
Of which I hadn't seen them for a year because I'd been overseas, you know, like I just didn't, I didn't have, that's why I did those things, because I didn't have the connection.
Yes. And Adam likewise as well, Natalie, because
Yes.
every family member had already been.
And I took the snow for 7 months. I was contacting people saying, hi, I know it's been 8 months since we last spoke, but how are you?
And it was before Facebook too. It's like,
It was. So
where if you didn't see someone, you lost their number forever.
yeah. Meet great people in your day-to-day work. Follow the 80-20 rule. And that's a rule that I would encourage everyone to follow. Work with the 20% of the people that are doing the most. And the 80% of the people I would mostly let Nutrimetics look after. And the way to let Nutrimetics look after them is to join them to the company. And then Nutrimetics will let them know when the free shipping is on. However, having said that, put them through the funnel and make sure that you follow all the processes, because in that other 80% might be a Natalie Grzic or an Adam Buchner or an Amber Toykins or a Wendy Barrett or a Deanna Perza, okay? And look for strong personalities as well, because they will challenge you, but they could be your future sales directors. And you've had plenty of strong people in your team, Natalie.
Yes, well, actually, of my first 3 managers, 2 of them were ex-bosses. Mary Richards had been a boss of mine, and the lady, I worked as an accountant at Unilever for that 3 months.
Yes.
And the woman who was my boss became a manager. She was like, oh my God, this girl's leaving to do Nutrimetics. Maybe I would leave too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to mention something. I'm mind blown, Natalie, that you mentioned this, and I've never thought of this. A microdermabrasion and Wonder Oil sample sachet.
For everyone.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
your
I was like,
takeaways.
oh my gosh, this is life-changing. It's life-changing because that's the first reward. So by giving everyone those samples to try and fall in love with this product, you've just changed my business. I'm
I
blown
can
away.
see everyone in the Sunshine Coast.
Oh my
and
goodness,
everybody
everyone's
knows.
getting microdermabrasion and Wonder Oil.
And your evaluation form, and I would love you to send that to me again, and I'd love you to put it on the Creating a Bright Future group as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That would be wonderful. And get a picture of where your business is by doing your evaluation form. Praise yourself and recognize yourself. And I love the clear strategy towards bookings, and the fact that you believe that you're good at booking. You believe that having a booking is the best thing that they can do. They will book. But if you think people don't want to book with you, or just don't want to book in general because that's how the world is and everyone's too busy, everyone's too poor, the economy's not good, and the other 100 excuses people have, then you won't get any bookings. But if you believe that girls and guys love to have fun, and the number of guys, I met a lovely guy at Chicks at the Flicks last night, Natalie, and he said, I love to use a moisturizer every night. I would love a part-time job, and tick that on the little form that Adam uses, and I'll get Adam to share that with you too. So praise yourself and tell yourself that people do want to book with you, that people do want to join with you, and that people do want to train with you and do want to develop with you. And the 4 times principle, and I'm with you, I would probably do 10 to 20 booking commercials every time I do a workshop. And even when I do a facial, I do it more subtly, I might tell you, but there's the little booking, and you're not that subtle. You have that eight workshops.
Everyone has a menu in front of them. I was doing a makeup workshop the other day, and I was talking through contouring because it was an autumn glow, so we don't really focus on contouring. So I'm just like, you contour here, 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 and here. But if you want to find out more about your face shape, we have to do a contour and shape workshop.
Yeah.
And then 3 of the girls booked that to find out how to contour.
Yeah. And that's how we learn to get bookings, isn't it? Have something visual to show them, tell them the benefits
Give
of
them
booking,
sneak previews of the others.
and then tempt them to book, and then give them a present for booking and tell them how much fun it is. See, I just think that a Nutrimetics workshop is all about fun. I guarantee someone will say something funny because they have to say something funny for me to bounce off them. Although Adam tells me I'm funny, and I'm funny now. Only took me 42 years to be funny, so don't worry about that, Natalie. And also, I believe that everyone in Australia needs to have a Nutrimetics VIP account. And if I worked for Country Road, everyone in Australia would need a Country Road VIP.
Yeah.
If I worked for Katie's, everyone in Australia would need the Katie's VIP. And it's that definiteness about what you do. Don't even know if that's
I
the
don't
word.
think so, but I like it.
It's being so definite about what you do and work with a minimum of 3 people to get their rewards every month. And some months, some of our girls bring in 50 people a month, but just have a non-negotiable thing that 3 people get their rewards, whether it's reward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. No, we've only got 4. Okay. And let's wrap it up here. Adam, correct and adjust your business. I think correct and adjust your attitude constantly.
Yes.
And the TLC program, are you on a TLC program with your upline manager, or are you choosing someone in your team to put on a tender loving care program, whether it's a formal one or it's an informal one, which means with me, if it's informal, I have some contact by ringing them. I probably ring them 3 times a week. And I find an excuse to ring them. Can you come to the event in Brisbane next Thursday night? I'm doing training. Adam was doing a makeup masterclass and I was being a bit of an assistant. So at the end, I just said to everyone, look, I need 2 models for Monday night. Who's free to be a model? And one lady couldn't come, but she did join as a VIP and she's coming Easter Monday. And, you know, I don't think everyone has to work Easter Monday, but I wanted to because I know of at least 2 or 3 people that can actually come because it's a holiday. And so I said to Adam, I'm going to run training Easter Monday because you know what? I want to earn my trip to Madrid. And that's what it can take. You have to go above average. And Natalie, you are above average. Congratulations on being an executive sales director as of the 1st of February.
Thank you.
And you are exactly where you belong, Natalie Grzic. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you. See you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thank you. And
Bye.
next month, Mum.
Yes, I was going to have you, but you are away. So I will be reaching out to my friends.
Fabulous.
So we will
Maybe
keep you
calling
posted. We might be calling you. Deanna can rest because she was on last month. Thanks,
Beautiful.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a great
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.